While the state law requires the declaration of an affiliation to a party for just that one day, just that one election, the state law does not require that the form to check the box be on the outside of the envelope.
This segment is brought to you by Eastside Weight Loss Clinic. I'm down 37 pounds on the program, and I lost most of that in just 2 months. Do what I did and what so many other undivided viewers have done. Schedule your free 15-minute consultation today at eastsideweightlossclinic.com. You probably got your presidential primary ballot in the mail. I've got mine here, but we'll show you a closer look up at the outside of the envelope that you would need to return if you choose to vote in Washington's presidential primary. And one of the things that a lot of you have noticed is that you have to mark your party declaration on the outside of the envelope, Democratic Party or Republican Party. And that, I think, for many reasons, has raised alarm bells. Definitely feels like kind of a violation of privacy. And then for some people, they don't want to have to declare a party. I mean, I know I don't want to have to declare a party. I don't want weird party junk mail coming to me to be able to choose who I think would be best for the presidency of the options available to me. And this has been an issue, I'll say, and we'll get to this coming up momentarily. This is not the first time we've had this, but I think it's getting renewed attention because Elon Musk commented on it. And so whenever Elon Musk comments on something, it gets a lot of attention. So there were some folks outside of Washington state who aren't familiar with the way our presidential primaries work, who had been sharing pictures of people asking, like, why do I have to do this on my ballot? And Elon Musk responded, what? I mean, I can understand that sentiment, being very confused. So Elon Musk weighing in on it led to national news talking about it. Jim Walsh, the chair of the Washington State Republican Party, also a state representative, was on Fox News. The headline from Fox: Washington GOP chair calls declaring party on outside of ballot, quote, questionable design, as voters raise concerns. So we asked Jim Walsh to come on the show with us today to talk about not only some of the things he has tried to do over the last few years in the legislature to rectify this exact situation, but to talk about some of the concerns that he's heard as a state lawmaker from his constituents. Representative Walsh, welcome to Undivided.
Oh, Brandi, it's good to see you again.
Well,
You're doing great work, and we're all busy here at the Capitol.
Yeah, I imagine. Hearing today, that should be exciting.
Yeah, the first of the three initiatives that have hearings has its hearing this afternoon. That's Initiative 2111, the one that basically puts into law the tradition of Washington that we don't have a personal income tax in this state.
Yeah, I'm excited. For us, this is like Super Bowl Sunday for us political nerds, right? Woo!
Exactly right.
Yeah.
A narrow but deep slice of the general population.
Exactly, yeah. Before I get into you getting Elon Musk's attention on something, I just want to thank you. You gave Nicole a tour of the Capitol when we were down there on Friday. I felt like Nicole had never been, and you were the perfect person to do it because you're just all the history and pointing things out. So thank you for doing that.
Oh, no worries. It's always good to double check and make sure that my pass card is still working. Sometimes it's not.
Yeah, it was this time. Okay, so I got my ballot here. I will be honest, in 2020, I was in the mainstream news, and I think I chose not to participate in the presidential primary because of the party declaration aspect of it. So is this the first time that the declaration has been on the outside?
No, it's not, Brandi.
So.
It's the second time. We changed the state law on the presidential primary in 2019. That was the last time we updated now we're getting photobombed. That was the last time that we updated the statute that controls the presidential primary. And so it had effect in 2020, and of course it's in effect now for 2024. The presidential primary is not like any other election. It's run under a totally different section of state law, under a totally different set of rules. And so in 2019, there was the last update to the law that affects presidential primaries. That's when the current language on the declaration, having to declare an affiliation with one part or the other, it was there already, but it was updated and changed a bit. And we were against it. I was against that and actually spoke out against that in 2019. We didn't think that having to declare a party affiliation was necessary or a good thing. Washington voters are independent-minded. I would say they're fiercely independent minded. And they really, I mean, I've heard from so many people, as I'm sure you have, who are unhappy about having to declare a party affiliation. Of course, we don't register by party in this state as they do in many states. We are really a free-thinking, independent state, and people don't like having to check one of those boxes to vote in a presidential primary. But we were outvoted in 2019. The majority likes this system. Then in 2021, my colleague Skylar Rood and I worked on a bill that would have added a third option, would have said you could check unaffiliated. And if you did that, you could vote for whoever you wanted to on the presidential list in either party or any party. That bill also didn't get to the governor's desk. The majority party here in Olympia really likes the setup as it is. And I should say the last piece, Brandi, is while the state law requires the declaration of an affiliation to a party for just that one day, just that one election, the state law does not require that the form to check the box be on the outside of the envelope. And that's the other thing people are complaining about. That is a bureaucratic rule. That's an agency decision that the state secretary of state, working in conjunction with county auditors, the people who are usually in charge of local elections, has come up with. And we've asked them to do something else, put a flap over it, put it on the inside of the envelope, and they've basically told us this is the way they like it, because it's easier for them to process when the declaration's on the outside of the envelope. Of course, I think that's a major invasion of voters' privacy, and that we ought to find another way, if the box must be checked, to do it. But as the current setup here in Olympia is, this is how it is. So my recommendation to people has been, do it, because you have to check the box to have your vote count in the primary, but don't put it in the mail. My advice is put it in a ballot box or take it to your county auditor.
Yeah, and I have to agree. I even don't like even having to put my phone number or an email on the outside of it. Like, maybe that's the job I do, where I'm like, I don't want some weirdo seeing it and calling me. And so did they explain to you why it's easier for them to have that declaration on the outside?
It's a mechanical explanation. I'm not sure I buy it completely, but they say that they can process the ballots faster and more accurately if they can sort it quickly before opening the envelope. I think it wouldn't hurt anybody if they had to open the envelope, or at least open a flap covering the declaration before they decide how to process the rest of the ballot. But I do want to emphasize the presidential primary election is unlike any other election. You don't have to do this declaration in a general election, in any other kind of election here. And also, this declaration doesn't affect anything that you might vote in the future. You're not bound to it in the state primary. You're not bound to it in a general. It really is a one-off kind of election. And I think that's some of the reason our reforms have had trouble is a lot of people here at the Capitol say, well, look, it's a one-off type deal. It really doesn't matter that much. Why are you so upset about this? And, to me, it's a principle thing. I think people are independent. They shouldn't have to check a box.
Yeah, last question for you. I think my hesitancy and why I haven't filled mine out yet, I know who I want to vote for, but I don't want to check a box because I don't want to end up on some party's list of getting all sorts of things. So if I check one of these boxes, am I all of a sudden going to be inundated with asks for money and party-related crap?
Short answer, yes. You are more likely to be inundated with that.
Okay.
It is a public document. The Secretary of State makes the total list, the database of who checked what box, available not just to the parties, but to the general public for a window of time. It's a 60-day window of time after the presidential primary. So yeah, it is a privacy issue because it's not just the parties. Anybody who asks can get the lists of who checked which box in the presidential primary vote. And I think that does make people less inclined to participate, Brandi.
Yeah.
Less inclined to vote.
Yep. I dislike it. I dislike it for many reasons. Jim Walsh, I know you have a lot of business to do. We will sit and watch the hearing with glee. So enjoy, sir.
Yes. A lot going on. We'll get those hearings done. And I hope that the initiatives that do get hearings are going to get votes out of the legislature. I've spoken with some of the state Senate leaders. They seem inclined to do it. And then it'll come down to the state House, whether the House takes up the vote or not. And that's just going to be interesting to see in the next week or so.
Well, let's hope so. There were a lot of wins, I think, for common sense this week, and I think that'd be a nice way to cap off the legislative session, to have the voters get a few wins as well. And if that was Rep. Brian Sandlin who photobombed our interview, you tell him hello.
You recognize Sandlin. Yes, it was.
Well, I just saw him briefly. It was a fleeting moment, but I'll recognize that face anywhere. All right, Jim Walsh, thank you.
Good to see you. Talk soon.
And we appreciate Jim Walsh's expertise on this. And so again, it's not new. You might just not recall this being a thing in 2020. And I think it is natural for it to get renewed attention. And especially given, Republicans in particular have a distrust of our election system. I'm not saying all of them, but there is a distaste for mail-in voting, which I like mail-in voting. I like the convenience of it, but I also do understand the chain of custody issue, where you're like putting it in a USPS box or a ballot drop box. You have all these people who are going to touch your ballot before it gets to where it's going. So I do understand that. And I don't think things like this help build that trust very much. When you already feel like you're being treated differently because you're a Republican, and then somebody's going to get your ballot and say a big check on the Republican thing. But you can track your ballot. So please do remember that. We have a tracking system that has become much better over the years, where you can track it, make sure it was counted, etc. And so I would definitely encourage you to do that. And also remember that this is not for every election, as Jim said. So for the primary election this summer, when you're going to vote, for instance, on who you prefer for governor, it's not divided by party like this. So it's just for the presidential primary in Washington. But I hope you got your questions answered there. And Elon Musk, I know you were watching. And so I did tag you in this because you were curious about our ballots. So just so you know, I hope you got a lot of useful information, Elon.